Whether it be with axes, guns, monsters, mechanical giants, or just element sluts, there are numerous different ways to kill in Warhammer 3, each being more gruesome than the last. But with so many units to choose from, it can be tough finding the right ones for you. So for today, I will be sharing with all of you what I find to be the 10 most fun units to use when slaughtering your enemies. Now, for this ranking, there will be no efficiency rating, no ease of use for these units, and no Geneva suggestions. All I will be looking at for this one is how quickly the enemy health bar goes down, and how much dopamine I get whenever I watch that happen. So, without further ado, let's begin. At the number 10 spot, we have Hellstorm rocket batteries with the Empire, which is the Warhammer equivalent to a Katyusha rocket barrage. This is also one of, if not the best artillery unit in the game, as well as the only one that can fill the entire battlefield sky with tons, and I do mean literal shit tons, of rockets. And even if they might look like harmless fireworks, if just one of these hits an enemy infantry unit, that unit will most definitely feel the impact. If the AI ever decides to blob up, that blob will cease to exist. And if the AI tries to dodge your artillery ammo, which apparently if the AI does it, it is totally not cheese, but if you do it, you're the scum of the earth for whatever reason. But anyways, as I was saying, if the AI tries to dodge your ammunition, well, good luck to it, as the entire battlefield is just filled with exploding rockets. And if you are also playing as Elsbeth, the Goth Lady of Guns, you will have access to the greatest scientific breakthroughs in the Warhammer universe, the realization that you can just keep adding more rockets to your never-ending barrage. There is one tiny little problem, however, and that is that friendly fire is very common with this unit, but, you know, semantics and whatnot. Number 9 are going to be Rattling Gunners for the Skaven. I mean, literal rats with miniguns. I don't know what else I need to tell you. In a medieval fantasy world with gods and demons, you have giant man-sized rats snorting the equivalent to crack cocaine and screaming rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta as they fill your enemies with bullets. Single entities, cavalry, large monsters, infantry, it does not matter, as minigun bullets do not discriminate. Whatever target you choose will get riddled with holes in matters of seconds and will be made to look like Swiss cheese. Of course, they are going to be best used with Ikitlaw, the biggest brain rat, who gives them the ability to turn shit into bullets, as well as increasing their range of fire just enough for it to matter. Now, one piece of advice when using this unit, and that is that you might not want to put any of your friendly units in front of this one, as, like I said, they do not discriminate, least of all friend from foe. So anything you put in front of them will be riddled with holes. At number 8, we have the War Sphinxes for the Tomb Kings. And these gigantic stone kitty cats are so much fun to use on the battlefield. You see, in this game, big monsters have something called collision attacks, which cause damage to enemy infantry during a charge or an attack animation. And in most cases, it isn't that big of a deal. Useful, but not that big of a deal. With War Sphinxes, however, this is taken to a whole new level. You see, War Sphinxes have a charge animation that is very reliable to pull off, which lets them plow straight through an enemy unit as if it were a chariot, dishing out ridiculous amounts of damage during their charge. And if you cancel the charge animation right before it ends, you can get it to trigger again, and again, and again, endlessly charging through enemy infantry, dishing out tons of damage and getting a dopamine rush whenever you pull this off successfully. Watching this stone kitty cat jumping through enemy formations, playing with its food is one of the most enjoyable sights you can see in the game. Now, you can do this just fine with a regular War Sphinx, but if you have a Lord or even better Cetra the Imperishable mounted on top of it, you can just exponentially increase the amount of dopamine you get by giving this kitty cat even more speed, more damage, and more survivability. Number 7 are going to be Minotaurs, and boy oh boy do these cows give the phrase blood for Khorne a whole new meaning. They're fast, they're durable, and when they jump headfirst into enemy formations, all you can see is blood and gore spilling everywhere. Really, what's not to love about these cows? Besides the fact they can be a little bit difficult to recruit. Now, for the most part, regular Minotaurs are decent on their own, but honestly, they don't really quite do it for me. You see, for me, the best Minotaurs you can get are the ones you get for Taurox's army, or the ones you recruit when playing as any of the Khorne factions. This is because with Taurox, you have a skill that will let Minotaurs eat the gore of enemies they kill, letting them heal in melee, making them much more durable, as well as also giving them even more killing power. And with Khorne factions, your Minotaurs are durable by default as they have more armor and can later on get healing through your technology. So if you use them now with all of these bonuses, you will get mad cows that feel no pain, running through the battlefield, turning your foes to red mist. Absolutely beautiful. At number 6 are going to be the Dreadquake Mortars for the Chaos Dwarfs. Now, so far we've seen an artillery piece that will drown out the sun with rockets and blanket the battlefield with explosions. But now I will show you an artillery piece that can put a small nuclear warhead to shame. In comes the Dreadquake Mortar, with an explosive round so large it has to be loaded into the barrel by your mother. This one round has enough explosive power in it to completely delete any infantry unit in the game. You know, so long as it actually hits its target. Boasting insane damage with an even more insane dopamine delivery system. This is absolutely one of the most fun artillery units there is. And to top it all off, you can even attach it to a train engine, which will then turn the unit into a mobile nuclear platform capable of delivering its payload right up your opponent's behind. Now, for number 5, I have decided to cheat just a little bit and place Tamacon on Bubebolus here. I know, placing a legendary lord is hardly appropriate, but I just had to do it, as Bubebolus is such a fun unit to use. He is a big boy that, if you give enough speed to, can become a monster at stomping his way through hordes of enemies. Just like with the War Kitty Cat, Bubebolus has an attack animation that can see him charge through enemy units, dishing out insane damage while trampling over them. The reason I placed Tamacon here and not a regular Toad Dragon is because Tamacon can more easily get speed increases through his skill tree, and just that little alone is enough to already make him much better at trampling enemies than a regular Toad Dragon. But if you also get the Banner of Swiftness and Tretch Craventail's defeat trait, well, now you can basically just completely break the game's animations and have him speed through the enemy, leaving only red paste in his wake. I could also mention Pestilent Decay damage over time effect, but really that is just the cherry on top of this Road Rage Toad. Number 4 are going to be Iron Drakes. I mean, if you have a look at the other units so far, you might think that a flamethrower unit isn't that interesting in comparison. But I'm here to tell you that you are wrong. You see, if a different race other than the dwarves had this unit, then you might have actually been correct. But because it is the dwarves, this is a whole different story. You see, as the Dowie, you have a wall of steel as your front line, holding back tides of filth in the form of rats or mushroom men. Now, unfortunately, all your steel wall can do is just hold the enemy at bay. So, you will obviously need something to clean the filth off of your walls. And the best way to do that is with a little bit of fire. And when I say a little bit of fire, I actually mean a shit ton of fire. It doesn't matter if the enemy is trash, or elite infantry, or even some monstrous units, as almost everything is going to melt when facing this torrent of fire. And trust me when I tell you, as a dwarf enjoyer, nothing feels quite as satisfying as watching grubby filth melt before you. This unit is also extremely efficient with its ammunition, so that you never have to feel too bad about using it to kill Skaven slaves. And it is also extremely responsive and compact, making it ideal for maneuvering through the gaps in your front line to dish out damage whenever you need it. So even though it isn't all that impressive on its own, in combination with the Dowie playstyle, it is just a ton of fun to use. At number 3 are going to be Outriders with grenade launchers, or more specifically, the Bordermen and Amethyst Outriders for the Empire. What is this unit? Well, this is a skirmish cavalry that launches grenades into the face of your enemies. Best used to deal with enemy infantry, and boy oh boy do they deal with enemy infantry. There is no unit, quite like the grenade launchers, that can just outright delete enemies this quickly without having to cast any spells or, having to be a giant toad monster. Just one volley from them, and almost any infantry unit in the game is going to lose more than half of their health bar. Now, why I mentioned the Bordermen and Amethyst Outriders specifically is because even though the regular version does amazing damage already, these two take it to a whole new level of destruction, with their higher model count, meaning more grenades per volley, and with more armor-piercing damage values. Just one volley from these two variants is more than enough to outright delete an entire unit of infantry. They are extremely mobile Deathbringers that will have enough killing power to carry pretty much every battle by themselves. They can be a little bit difficult to use, however, but once you experience the amount of destruction they can cause, you will be completely addicted to them. Number 2 is going to be yet another Skaven unit, but this time it is going to be a Regiment of Renown specifically, and that is the Avalanche Mortar. So the regular version of this unit, Poison Wind Mortars, are a fairly boring unit. Useful, they do decent damage over time, but they aren't very interesting. The Avalanche Mortars, however, are the same unit, but instead of shooting a damage over time projectile, they fire cluster bombs that then shower a strike area with what I can only describe as purple globes of death. These cluster bombs, although very inaccurate, can pretty much instantly destroy any enemy unit with the exception of single entities. I mean, I just want you to imagine the damage of the Bordermen, except in the form of raining purple death from a much greater distance. Not a lot of micro is required for this unit, just point it towards an enemy and watch it perform the greatest magic trick of all, making everything in the surrounding area just disappear. Unfortunately, you can only ever have one of these in your campaign, and there is no way to replicate its capabilities, but given the amount of fun you can have with it, having more than one will probably just see you overdose on dopamine. And finally, for the number 1 spot, we have Knights of the Brazen Throne, a Skullcrusher Regiment of Renown unit for Khorne and the Warriors of Chaos. Now, with all the units so far, we have seen giant monsters, drugged up rats, and lots of explosives. But to be honest with you, I enjoy nothing more than watching a good old cavalry charge plow through ranks of enemy infantry and just trample over everything in their path. Unfortunately for this game, cavalry in most cases just sucks, as they get stuck in the first line of enemy they charge at and proceed to get murdered. However, that is not the case with the Knights of the Brazen Throne, and it all has to do with 2 things. First of which is this ability right here, Murderous Charge, which gives them charge acceleration when charging towards an enemy, which, in combination with the second thing, with their animations of just never stopping their charge, makes it so that they can quite literally plow through an entire enemy unit in one go. I mean, shooting the enemy is cool and all, watching giant monsters swallow them is fun, but crashing through ranks on ranks of infantry with cavalry just feels more personal, more satisfying, and makes you want to scream blood for the blood god at the top of your lungs. There is no other cavalry unit in this game that does this better than Knights of the Brazen Throne Skullcrushers. Now, you can also get the same results with a regular unit of Skullcrushers in combination with the Banner of Swiftness, but that is a little bit more RNG dependent. And those would be my picks for the most fun units to use in Total War Warhammer 3. If you enjoyed the video and would like to watch more of these, don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.
Khorne fights as one.